Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're looking at what is basically a classic user interface trap.
Oh, I like where this is going.
You know the drill, right?
Right.
The front end looks amazing, it's sleek, it's inviting, maybe even a little bit different. But if you don't check the documentation, or, this case, the source code, you might find that the back end is running a process that is actively trying to kill you.
That is a very dramatic way to describe gardening.
It's nature's UI.
But you know what? It's not inaccurate, I'll give you that.
So, yeah, we are talking about a case of mistaken identity, some hidden domestic threats, and frankly, one of the most disciplined observational minds we've seen in a long time.
It's a really fascinating mix today. We're breaking down a specific plant, sure, but we're also digging into the method of the person looking at it.
The observer, yeah.
How a software plumber, and that's his term, not mine, applies the logic of, debugging code to the natural world around him.
I love that title, software plumber. It just sounds so gritty. So let's set the scene. Our source today is a blog post. It's titled Notes on Gardening, Part 807, The Deceptive Beauty of the Oleander.
Right, from the blog kianmeng.org.
And check out the timestamp.
Yeah.
February 14th, 2026. This is brand new.
Fresh data, yeah.
Valentine's Day. What's more romantic than deceptive, toxic beauty, I guess. But before we even get to the poison, I have to stop you.
On the title.
Part 807. That's not a typo, is it?
No, that is not a typo, and that number is actually going to be pretty crucial to understanding who we're dealing with here.
Okay.
This isn't just some casual, oh, look at my petunias kind of post. This
Yeah.
is part of a massive, structured archive.
We are definitely going to unpack those insane stats later,
Yeah.
because I have questions about if this guy ever sleeps. But first, the hardware. The mission here is to explore this case of botanical mistaken identity.
Exactly. The subject is the oleander, Nerium oleander.
So the post kicks off with the author, Ang, finding this plant. You're in Malaysia, it's tropical, you see a shrub. What's the first thing you notice?
The visuals, right? The look.
The aesthetic,
Yeah.
the UI. He calls out these refined, star-shaped pink flowers, and it sounds really lovely. He uses the word refined.
Exactly, and that refined look, that's the hook, it draws you in. But Ang immediately spots something interesting.
What's that?
He says that at first glance, his brain just auto-categorized it as something else. He thought it was a vinca.
A vinca, right.
Yeah.
Catharanthus roseus. I actually looked it up to compare.
Yeah.
And to my untrained eye, they look really similar. Pink flowers, green leaves, kind of shrubby. It seems like a totally reasonable mix-up. Why does it matter? It's just a flower.
Well, in the coding world, that's like mistaking a harmless little script for a piece of malware just because they have the same file icon.
Okay, fair point.
It matters a lot. The vinca is super common, pretty benign, an ornamental plant. But Ang didn't just accept that surface-level look. He didn't trust the icon.
He started debugging the plant.
He did, essentially, yeah. He specifically mentions the veination of the leaves.
The veins!
That was the detail that gave it all away.
This part I found so cool. He's looking at the pattern of veins on a leaf to ID the species. It's like checking the digital signature on a software package.
That's a perfect analogy. The vinca has a certain vein structure, a little softer the way they branch out. The oleander, though, its leaves have these very rigid, very parallel secondary veins. It's a much stricter architecture.
So the flower's saying, hey, I'm a friendly vinca. But the leaf architecture is just screaming, I am something else entirely.
Precisely. And because he's a true observer, because he's writing Part 807 and not just walking by, he catches that little discrepancy. He figures it out. It's an oleander.
And that's where the deceptive part of the blog post title really comes into play. Because as soon as he cracks the ID, the whole tone just shifts. It goes from, oh, what a pretty flower, to something much, much more serious.
It really does. Because once you identify the system, you can look up its documentation. And the documentation for Nerium oleander has this huge, flashing red warning label all over it.
Toxicity.
High toxicity. The entire plant, every single part of it. Roots, stems, leaves, flowers. It's loaded with cardiac glycoside.
Oleandrin, right?
Oleandrin specifically, yes.
And he's very clear about what this means. He warns people this is absolutely not a plant you want in a house with pets.
Yeah.
Or young kids.
Right. And just think about that contrast for a second. You
Yeah.
see this delicate, star-shaped pink flower. It looks like it belongs in a little vase on your breakfast table.
Globally.
But if your cat chews on one leaf or a toddler decides to taste that little star, you are in a serious medical emergency.
It's a Trojan horse.
It really is. And this is where the deep dive gets a little Uncomfortable. For me anyway, and probably for a lot of people listening.
Because he doesn't stop with the oleander.
He connects the dots. He goes up the family tree.
Yes. This was the part where I literally looked across my living room at my own shelf and got a little bit nervous.
You are not alone. Eng points out that the oleander belongs to the Apocynaceae family, and he highlights a specific, very popular relative.
The desert rose.
Adenium obesum, the desert rose.
They are everywhere. I mean, you can't walk into a garden center or even a big box store without seeing rows and rows of them.
Yeah.
They have those thick, swollen trunks.
They're the codex, yeah.
And these beautiful trumpet-shaped flowers. They're incredibly popular.
Oh, they're so sculptural. They look like a bonsai, but without all the work. That's a huge part of the appeal.
But then Aang just drops the bomb. They're cousins.
Close cousins.
Yeah.
And they share more than just their good looks. They share that exact same high toxicity profile.
This was the aha moment of the whole piece for me. He writes, and I'm quoting here, "It's hard to imagine that the desert rose, which is so common in many of our homes, carries such a high level of toxicity."
It just completely goes against that commonality bias, right? We just assume that if something is ubiquitous, if it's sold at the grocery store, if it's on our neighbor's porch, it must be safe.
Right.
We assume someone somewhere has approved it.
Like nature has an FDA.
Exactly. But nature does not have an FDA. The desert rose is a survivor. It evolved in these really harsh, arid places. That poison isn't a bug, it's a feature.
It's a defense
It's a
mechanism.
very effective one. It's to stop hungry animals from eating it in a desert where, food is scarce.
And we take this hardened little survivalist, armed to the teeth with chemical weapons, and we put it on our coffee table because it has a modern look.
Precisely. Aang even notes that the leaves of the desert rose and the oleander look remarkably similar. If you put them side by side, you can absolutely see the family resemblance. You can see the danger, but only if you're actually looking for it.
It really makes you rethink the greenery in your house. We think of plants as these passive decorations, but they're biological machines with their own agendas.
And sometimes that agenda is, don't touch me or you will regret it.
So we've got the plant, we've got the hidden danger. But I want to pivot back to the man who found it all. Because, honestly, the plant is interesting, but the observer is fascinating.
Aang, the software plumber.
Yes. Let's look at the metadata of this source.
Yeah.
We touched on it, but these numbers need to be verified. Notes on gardening, part 807. You said this blog's been active for a while?
Active is a bit of an understatement. If you look at the sidebar in his blog, and remember, this post is from mid-February 2026. He has already posted 42 times.
Wait, hold on. 42 posts in 14 days.
Yeah.
That's 3 posts a day.
Give or take.
Okay. Skeptic hat on. Is this quality content, or is he just spamming? Is this just auto-generated noise?
That's the natural question to ask. But
Yeah.
if you scroll through the archives, you find the answer pretty quickly. In 2023, 2024, and 2025, he posted around 730 times each year.
That's almost exactly 2 posts a day. Every single day. For 3 years.
The consistency is incredible. And the content isn't spam. It's so granular and specific. You see categories like notes on fish keeping, Haskell, Python, AI, even guitar and meditation.
Beta spawn logs. I saw that one. He's logging the reproduction of his fish.
He is logging everything. And this is where that software plumber identity really clicks. He mentions floss-free and Libre open source software.
Right.
In that world, transparency and documentation are everything. You document your code, you log your changes, you track your bugs.
So he's treating his entire life, his garden, his fish, his guitar practice, like a single massive open source project.
Exactly. He is running a runtime log of his own existence. This isn't a diary for, emotional release. These are commit messages for his daily observations.
That puts part 807 into a whole new perspective. It's not, "Dear Diary, I saw a flower." It's System Update 807. Observed botanical anomaly. Investigated. Result, toxic.
And that mindset is exactly why he learned about the toxicity in the first place. This is the crucial takeaway from the whole piece. He says it himself. I'm glad I stumbled upon this plant, as it prompted me to go beyond just taking photos to researching and writing about it.
And then he says this. Journaling is one of the most effective approaches to delving deep into a particular domain.
Right. I mean, think about the alternative, the casual user approach. You walk by, you snap a photo on your phone, you post it with a caption like "pretty pink vibes."
And you forget about it 5 seconds later.
You flush the cache. You've learned absolutely nothing. And you certainly didn't learn about the poison. But because Aang has this protocol, this discipline of journaling, he forces himself to stop, research, identify, and document
The act of writing forces clarity. You can't just write notes on gardening, part 807, without having something real to say.
Exactly. The documentation is a tool for learning. It turned a fleeting visual moment into a legitimate survival tip. He knows about cardiac glycosides because he had to fill that blog entry.
It's like rubber ducking. You know that programming trick where you explain your code to a rubber duck to find the bug? He's rubber ducking nature.
That is a perfect way to put it. He is debugging his environment by explaining it to his blog.
So, we have the analysis, we have the warning, what about the verdict? After all that, after admiring the refined beauty and then finding out about the danger, did our software plumber actually get the oleander?
He did not. Deployment aborted.
Smart move.
But here's the funny thing. You'd assume the reason is, well, it's poisonous and I don't want to die.
That would be my #1 reason.
But if you read the text, his final decision actually came down to something much more practical. He mentions a limited budget.
The budget. The universal blocker of all projects.
He says his budget was already allocated to another species, which he then promises to discuss in a future post.
I love that pragmatism. It's not driven by fear. It's resource allocation. Ticket closed. Insufficient funds.
Well, and implied safety concerns, I'm sure. But yeah, he just moved on to the next ticket. And knowing his post frequency, that next post was probably live 12 hours later.
Probably about the other plant he bought instead. It just keeps the whole loop going. Observe, research, document, decide.
It really just goes to show you don't need to be exploring the Amazon rainforest to find something truly fascinating. You just need to look at the shrub next to the driveway with the same intensity that you look at a line of broken code.
So let's try to wrap this all up. We started with a pretty flower, and we've ended up deep in the philosophy of data logging.
We really did. We learned that the oleander mimics the harmless vinca, a classic fishing attack by nature.
And that we need to check the headers, the leaf veins, to verify its real identity.
We learned that the desert rose sitting in your living room is a toxic cousin, proving that common definitely does not mean safe.
And, maybe most importantly, we learned that being prolific, posting 730 times a year, isn't just about making noise. It's a methodology for understanding the world around you.
For forcing yourself to process the data of your own life, that's the big so what for me. We are just drowning in information overload. But Aang isn't drowning, he's swimming, he's structuring the flow.
By writing it down.
By writing it down. He found a hidden danger because he took the time to document a visible beauty.
It makes you wonder what else we're all missing just because we don't have a part 807 to write today.
And that raises a really uncomfortable question, I think, for everyone listening.
Let's hear it.
Aang looked at a common plant, something ubiquitous, and found this hidden toxic depth, all because he stopped to journal about it.
Right.
So, here's the provocation for you. What is the desert rose in your own life?
Oh, that's good.
Think about your daily routine, your tech stack. What are the things you use every day, the habits you have, the tools you rely on, that you just assume are safe because they're familiar?
The dependencies you installed years ago and just forgot about.
Exactly. You assume they're benign. But you haven't actually read the documentation in a decade. If you stopped to really journal about them, to research the family tree of your habits or your diet or your tools, what hidden toxicity might you find?
You might find that the harmless habit you have is actually draining your energy, or the tool you love is leaking your data.
But you won't know if you just keep looking at the pretty interface. You have to check the veins. You have to do the plumbing work.
That is a terrifying and a very motivating thought to leave people with. Don't just trust the UI. Read the docs.
And write your own.
Exactly. Start your own log. Maybe you won't hit 730 posts this year, but you might just save yourself from a toxic mistake. As always, thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. Keep debugging your reality, and we will catch you on the next one.
Goodbye.